Hello, everyone, and welcome to Government Cheese Time. Government Cheese Time is brought to you by the Anti-Watch Watch Club, a 501c3 charity that utilizes a drop culture to support veterans, law enforcement, and first responders by providing monetary, social, humanitarian, and emotional support to those in need. My name is Jason. I'm one of your co-hosts. To my left is Alex, our other co-host. I might have screen dyslexia, so I don't know if I'm getting that right. He's to my side, and he's my partner in crime for the Government Cheese Time streams. How you doing, Alex?
Good man. How you doing? I started leave.
Oh yeah.
Yesterday or the Thursday, so doing good. So
Is it block leave?
yeah, so it's I guess, dude, I still call it block leave, but I guess now they call it opportunity leave. So it's whenever the unit is blocked out a time for majority of people to go on leave.
Oh, okay.
And then you take it if you want to, or you can take it on a different time. And one of the things that is different now is like the Army went to this system called IPSE, and you put everything through there. Everything is in there. So now we went away from different system. It's everything is supposed to be there, and leave goes through there. And it's funny because you choose who is you're gonna route it through, right? And there's no paperwork; it's all online. And this kid was taking 30 days. So normally 30 or more, you got to go to the battalion commander to get a signature, right? But the problem is you still got to route it through your lower level, leadership. But this guy just thought, hey, it's going to get signed by him. So I just put him on it. This brand new private paperwork went straight to the battalion commander. And he was like, because you get an email.
Yeah.
And he was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. It's always amazing. It's always amazing to me, like when they develop new products, right?
Yeah.
Especially like product development and then or research and development, right? And then especially for the military, they don't pull a bunch of E4 blow in for like 2 hours and say, try to break this.
Yep.
And let me recant that statement. I wouldn't tell them to try to break it. But you're right. I would tell them use this for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Inevitably, there's going to be that kid, like that soldier who was like, I'm sending this straight to the Joint Chairman's, Joint Chiefs.
Yeah.
Some 4-star was like, what? Where did this come from?
Yeah. Because I just, like for us, when we do that with like the actual combat equipment. They'll take a unit, give it to them, and then be like, use it. But with these things, like, a website that's gonna hold everything in the world for you. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we're just gonna release it.
Crazy, man. Is it? It's so freaking crazy.
Yeah.
That they don't really. Because come on, if there's anything we know about serving is.
Yeah.
We don't have like the E4 mafia in the Navy, or maybe we do, and they're so good we don't know about it, right? Yeah. So I mean, that's interesting. If anyone's still active in the Navy, go do some deep diving to see if we have the E4 mafia. Yeah. But I know that's a big thing for you guys in the Marine Corps, right?
Yeah.
And but if there's some wiggle room inside of a program, they are the ones that are going to find it because
they're gonna find it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they use the majority of stuff, right, that we have. And it's just amazing that we never ever put the program in front of them first. When you look at the board of who did it, you're like, why do we have these captains and stuff? They're not going to, who cares? And it's, we need to get in front of the end users, to do it. But, and a quick story, I feel like Army Knowledge Online, this is going to make me throw up in my mouth a little bit, but when I was in Iraq, and we had a couple soldiers on our team, and he's a sergeant first class now. Shout out Luis. He knows who he is. I'm not going to give out full names, but Luis, I'm talking about. Best stories about home I've ever heard in my life. Luis's stories, bro, legit. We would sit there just enthralled by his stories. But I was like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm checking some stuff on Army Knowledge Online. I'm like, oh, let me check it out, because back then we had Navy Knowledge Online, right?
Yeah.
And I will give a quick summation. Everything that Navy Knowledge Online was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I use the term supposed because it's no longer around. Because it do any of the things it was supposed to do. Army Knowledge Online did. Like he could email his leadership through Army Knowledge Online. He didn't have a separate email. He could find mentors and have discussions with people in his MOS.
Yeah.
Above and below in the chain of command kind of rank structure to, get either references he needed or materials or just to get some advice, right?
Yeah.
He could do check-ins and a bunch of paperwork stuff, et cetera, all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
There was just so much stuff he could do. And I remember sitting there looking at him like, this E4 has got more power at his fingertips. So, but do you guys don't even have that anymore, right? Do you?
No, it went away. It went away.
What a sad day.
Yeah.
What a sad day.
This is the thing. They tried to improve it, right? And they went to AKO, 2.0. It screwed it up. And then everyone was like,
You never go 2.0.
Yeah.
Never go full 2.0.
Yeah.
Just keep it, or maybe call it a revision or something. You know what I mean?
Just keep calling it the same, and it'd be fine.
Nice. So this week, Alex, you got anything? Any new stuff? Any new status? NWAs? Did you do something cool?
No new watches. I am currently drinking some black coffee and wearing my Notice Deep.
Oh yeah, baby.
And that's pretty much it. No new watches.
Yeah, I kind of got a new watch, but it hasn't arrived yet, so I'm gonna hold on to that.
Yeah.
I didn't purchase it myself. I actually won it, which is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
I've won 2 watches in the last year, both by the same brand.
Yeah.
Uncanny. It's weird. But yeah, on my wrist, I'm wearing my.
Man, look at the loom.
Grand Seiko. Oh man, it's loomed up. Oh, that just happened.
Man, that thing is nice.
Grand Seiko SBGX 335.
Yeah.
With all its links now.
Ooh.
Yeah, baby.
Hell
on that bracelet. Super comfortable. I just got a question for Grand Seiko. I know Grand Seiko tunes in every week religiously. They're wonderful supporters of the channel. They're not, but make a bracelet with a lion on the clasp and not GS.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Make Grand Seiko do a special release with a lion on the clasp.
Yeah.
And that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Because that's what I've nicknamed this.
Yeah.
Lion.
The lion.
Yeah.
I would definitely think that a lion on the clasp would be better than just GS.
Yeah. I wanted to call it the Sea Lion because it's a dive watch.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later. We'll get to that later.
Yeah. Yeah, the how you call it? The clasp on mine is not truly a long diver's clasp. So even there, man, like I think a lion there, woo,
yeah,
would look good.
Because the lion is awesome on the case back.
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%.
Everyone at work that was checking it out, like, oh man, they love the watch. I mean, the funny thing is to watch everyone's eyes on the finishing.
Yeah.
That's a thing. Like, there's a bunch of people with varying levels of watch, enthusiasm, knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing they all understood when the second they saw it, like, man, that polishing, oh my gosh, like, and then like the dial and the hands and everything, and then when I tell them some of the science behind the quartz movement and all that stuff, they're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But when everyone sees the case back, they're like, oh man, that lion's sweet. I'm like, I know they should have class. Freaking amazing. But that's about it. I haven't other than winning a watch, and we'll cover that later. I want, me, like I've gotten kind of confirmation, but I want like legit confirmation. That'll be fun. And other than that, I've just been trying to get some home repairs done and stuff. So nothing major.
Nice.
Nothing really interested in the watch roll. I guess kind of preparing to go to wind up in New York in October. I'm starting to lay the groundwork for that now. So yeah, I'd like to stay. I think I don't know if I'm gonna stay the full 3 days, man. Like I can only handle New York for so long.
Yeah.
I can only handle it so long, man. Like
same thing.
Yeah, but that's another story. We can tell New York City wind up stories in November after we both go, and
yeah,
it's a little bit much. But
yeah.
You want to get into the weekly sit rep?
Let's do it, man.
All right. So the first piece that you ran across is the Bulgari Octo Finissimo Tourbillon watch in marble.
Yeah.
Only watch 2023.
Yeah, this is crazy, man. Like I was telling you, I actually had some experience with like wearing and handling the Octo Finissimos, not the Tourbillon and not the marble, obviously, but the Octo Finissimos, they're pretty good, man. Honestly, I made a point the day that I found someone that had it to talk to him and handle the watch and put it on the wrist. And the watch is great construction. It feels really good and on the wrist and stuff like that. I know that, the whole being extremely thin and all that stuff plays into the fact that it's going to be pricier, right? But I don't feel like the finishing on the typical Bulgaris Octo Finissimos are to the level of the price, but these are cool, man. Like they wear pretty good for being a bigger watch. They look good. They look pretty cool. I enjoy. You know what I enjoy the most about the Octo Finissimos is the fact that the whole thing about there was like a mini competition between watch brands of going super thin, and then the Octo Finissimo came out. I was like, here, slap on the face. This is it. Call it a day. And then it kind of took off and made a line. And to put a Tourbillon on such a thin watch, man, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now marble, this is just another place where I can't afford marble right now. Other than the kitchen. It's
when I read the article, it talks about how it's not. You can see right here. Shout out Blog to Watch. We always like to give credit. David Breeden did a great article on here, and I'm gonna tell you most people are probably familiar with Blog to Watch, but a lot of my fellow retired military and watch enthusiasts, a lot of them don't know about a Blog to Watch, so I share it with them. I just think they do a good job of, summarizing new releases, summarizing products. They're pretty transparent about what's, a sponsored, or promoted type item. You know what I mean? But I think they're pretty fair and honest and like that word transparent, but about what they're talking about. But in the article, they talk about how it's not created from solid marble, but instead is covered with a thin layer of it.
Yeah.
And then it comes from the green marble is called Verde Alpi. So green Alps. Well, am I broke in Spanish? That's why Alex and I work so well together. Our junction of Alex's English is far superior than my Spanish. So if there's a line like mine makes up this much English or Spanish, and Alex is like Spanish is like that. But we understand each other. But it comes from the Aosta Valley, a natural passage in the Alps between Switzerland and Italy. Yeah. I think come on, man. They know green and gold, ancient royal colors.
Green and gold,
So most people, I don't know how much people are into like royal finishing and stuff, but like purple dye used to be the hardest dye to get. So that was the most expensive royal clothing you could get would be purple. And then green dye back in the day was the second most expensive. So they try to get their stuff in green.
Yeah.
Here's some close-ups of it. Being manufactured. That's someone just really appreciating the marble. This marble's so nice.
The veins. Look at the veins.
The marble's like, stop touching me, man. What's wrong with
you? Yeah, this is it's pretty cool. And that's one of the things that I hadn't read, that the whole is on it's covered on a thin layer of marble, because marble is heavy, man. Like for a watch that is already well constructed, so it's not a thin watch, even or light watch, even though it's so thin. So having just a thin coat as opposed to trying to make it marble itself is it's pretty cool. But yeah,
they talk about
this is just funky, man.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and that's the thing is like they talk about how only the interior surface closest to the wrist is in a black DLC titanium, right? So I think that shows some design concept, right? Or engineering, where we're adding this heavy material marble, so everything else is going to be titanium to kind of balance it out. But then I remember you telling me when you got to try that one on, how well made it felt and how much it like hugged your wrist, and it just felt like a really well made watch. I feel like if I owned a third world country and my military was fully funded to protect myself, this would definitely be on my list of things to buy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
This is the dial is the thickest part, comprising 0.6 millimeter thick wafer of marble with indices at the top and a tourbillon cut out at 6 o'clock. 40 millimeter wide DLC titanium case, and it has their BVL 268 caliber Bulgari. It's only 1.95 millimeters thick.
1.95.
Yeah. In-house design and produced movement. 52-hour power reserve, 3 hertz operating frequency, and a flying tourbillon. I'll tell you what, man, that thing is snazzy.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at that. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. You know, the like I said, it's a funky, you know, it's different. I enjoy stuff like that. So it's definitely a fun watch, you know, and that green and gold go together for sure.
Shout out. One last picture.
Yep.
You know, I think if you sell countertops,
you have to. Yeah. You definitely should. You know, I just think this is for sure a watch that, you know, for people that are in that, you know, area of collecting, price range of collecting. This is a cool watch to own. I will never be something that I own.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know what's really sad about this, and then we'll move on to the next watch. What's sad about this is that if you were a really super wealthy Oakland A's or Seattle Supersonics fan, you could have bought this watch to flex, but not anymore because both cities have lost their teams. So. But anyway. On to the next watch.
Yeah. The Moon Swatch Strawberry Moon. Man.
Can I make a confession to you right now?
Do it.
I saw this article pop up and other articles, right?
Yeah.
I have not even looked at them because I wanted to believe that this was a joke.
Same thing. You know, to me, it was like, I thought, okay, not with this one. The last one they did.
The gold one?
The gold one, it was a different pattern or whatever it was. And I was like, it has to be a joke. There's no way. It has to be a joke. And then it became a reality. When this one came out, I was like, yeah, they definitely did it again. You know, it's like, don't get me wrong, right? A lot of people think that when I talk crap about the Moon Swatch, I just don't like the idea of the Moon Swatch.
Yeah.
I love the idea of the Moon Swatch, and I love what it did to the industry when it first came out, when it was like, you know, hey, you guys are all over there looking at these expensive watches. We're going to destroy everything that's coming out of there with a $200 and something watch that is made out of plastic, right? But and that's cool because it brought life to the watch enthusiast world with a price point that really is extremely low. So I love the idea of that, and I love the idea of the Moon Swatch. It doesn't bother me that, you know, hey, people with Speedmaster, oh, he's gonna drop value or whatever it is, but it doesn't bother me at all. But the thing is, man, like, I just don't feel. I think it should be a tad lower in price point because at the end of the day, they can call it Bioceramic or Biogodly material is plastic, man, and it feels like a toy. It feels more like a toy than a Casio or any G-Shock.
Oh yeah,
right? Because the Casio or the thinner G-Shocks still feel better, still feel more well constructed and hefty to it. And
I know what you mean, because the watch I won is a IP level composite, right?
Yeah.
And then I have a composite. I have a Marathon Pilots Navigator that my wife purchased me.
Yeah.
And then I felt some other composite stuff. I mean, one of the watches we're going to talk about later is technically a composite. And by design, though. And this one was by design. And I have yet to hold one of these because the way the initial release went kind of irked me a little bit with the whole.
Yeah.
Because my wife and I were super stoked. Like the Mission to Venus, she really loves yellow. She's like, that'd be the funnest watch ever. And I even had a buddy of mine, shout out T, who he took a trip all the way up to Maine with his family. They did a vacation, right? Listen, imagine this. Active duty guy tells his wife, hey, when we're in New York City, I need a couple of hours to make a run to the Empire State Building. Not to go to the top and enjoy the view of New York City.
Yeah.
To go to the freaking Swatch boutique.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I'm going to run in there. And he took his young son. It was like a mission, right?
Yeah.
Get there, none. There's none available. Yeah. And this was like after like the whole major hubbub, right?
Yeah.
He hits it on the way down, nothing. He goes to the King of Prussia store on the way back, nothing. Yeah. So they made 3 separate stops along the way to try to score one of these $250 watches, and he's out. He's like, I'm out. And for me, it was the same thing too, because it was like, you tell everyone they're going to be available online.
Yeah.
And then everyone's waiting, and they never were. And then all the other stuff you saw going on with it, I just feel like that's why I thought the gold one seemed simple enough to me to where it wasn't a joke. The audacity with some of the stuff they did.
Yeah.
The lack of being able to read the room, of claiming that this is a watch enthusiast watch, but you do nothing to enable the watch enthusiast to have a shot at purchasing this. Like people don't have jobs, like people don't have lives. You know what I mean? Like that's not an experience, right? Like going to a boutique and getting like a Cartier is a real experience. Standing in line with a bunch of flippers, who may or may not have box cutters, is not the experience you want to associate with a timepiece. And then when you add on what like you're telling me about how it feels like a toy, goes back to the whole research and development thing, right? Product development. It's obvious that they didn't. If you don't get one watch enthusiast in there to handle this watch and tell you this thing does not feel like a watch, you know what I mean? You're really messing up. And then, so for me, it's like when I saw the strawberry one, I hoped it was a joke. That's the best way to put it. I was like, I'm not going to read this, because if I read this and it's real, it's going to put a ding. It's going to put a dink in my idea of like the watch space, because a company with the history of Omega and even the history of Swatch has done some cool stuff back in the day. This is like when you're a kid this is a kid in class who could get straight A's every single time, right?
Yeah.
But around 6th grade decides to stop caring and thinks that he or she can just carry their general knowledge and ability can carry them. And then constantly you just see other kids around them surpass them.
Yeah.
Because they put in the hard work and the effort to do something special for themselves and for everyone else. Because I think if they had put a little bit more thought into this, they could have had, I mean, it's a success financially, probably. I don't see Omega's books.
100%.
But
100%.
I think as time's gone on, you can tell who has a quote unquote vested interest in either brand. Take that how you will, by how they continue to talk about these watches, and the people who are giving their honest opinions, like you, like me, and other people. Because there are some people that have come out and like flipped the script on how they feel about these things.
Yeah.
And so like for me, it's like they could put a burrito on that secondhand. I'm not buying it.
Yeah. Burrito.
The second hand could be a burrito.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it, and I'm not eating it.
Hey, for Mexican Moon, it'll probably have it. You know, to me, it's like it should have been. First of all, it should have been a little bit cheaper.
This guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah. It's it should have been a little bit cheaper. Period. And then at this point, they're just cash grabbing. Period. Yeah. There's no more excuses. There's no more anything. At this point, they're just cash grabbing. I would say, though, nowadays, you can go probably on Tuesdays and Wednesdays to a Swatch boutique, and you will find them because they'll have them on a Tuesday and on a Wednesday around those days. Some boutiques, you can find them even later towards the weekend. There's no more lines. Like, I have a friend that still lives in Dallas, and Dallas has a Swatch boutique, and he said that, he has walked in a couple of times and they do have them with no line. But at this point, they're just cash grabbing. This is no excuse anymore.
I mean, there's more work put into this person's nails than there is into the design element. I mean, it's just I don't know. Maybe the rest of the watch enthusiast space doesn't take themselves as seriously as I do, but this is just like low level insulting. You know?
I don't think it's I just think it's legitimately a lot of people are feeling at this point that they're just going along with the cash grab. It's like, this feels like when everyone complains about Rolex releasing a 36 millimeter and then next year going to a 39. It's like, or from a 39 to a 40, it's like, oh, damn. So I don't know.
And here's the thing. So like, oh, this is based off the Strawberry Moon from the Farmer's Almanac. So like, why don't you just color coat the hand in a strawberry color instead of putting, I don't know.
Yep. 100%.
So from homaging the moon done wrong to, I guess, paying tribute to a player who, quote unquote, if you watch baseball, does things the quote unquote right way.
Yeah.
Articles courtesy of Hodinky.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick. So I think, Alex, obviously you're from Puerto Rico. You're from the PR, right? Baseball guy?
Yeah, 100% baseball guy, yeah.
Okay, so, Mexican, obviously the history of our players is not that of the Puerto Rican players in baseball. I'll be honest about it. We have some great players. Don't get me wrong, man. Fernando, Forkball, the whole nine.
Yeah.
Some great players. But, baseball is something near and dear, I think, to both of our hearts. I played adult hardball leagues. I don't know about you. But this dude is something that we've never seen in our lifetime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the last time someone did what he does was Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
So that's going back a long time. The fact that someone who can pitch at a high level,
yes,
and then hit at a high level is
disturbingly high.
It's impressive, very impressive. And I will say this is the reason why I think when a lot of people say baseball is not a interesting game, I think people like this makes it very interesting.
Yeah. I will just say to anyone that says that baseball is not an interesting game, you've never played it.
Yeah.
Because there's more stuff. You know what I mean? Like there's more stuff going on than people realize. People aren't just like the outfielders aren't just standing there. The infielders aren't just positioned the way they are.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of stuff going on. You just don't get up and hack away.
Yeah.
Like very, very few hitters are allowed to get up and do whatever they want.
Yeah.
There's situational hitting, situational base running, situational positioning as defenders, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's, it's crazy, man, about this dude. It's the first time, so my generation, we'd have like Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders were the two guys. And then Brian Jordan, who played for the Braves and the Falcons, right? These guys that played two sports, but you never saw a guy who pitched and hit and legit, can rake, bro. Like I'm talking like straight up rake. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know about you, but growing up when the World Baseball Classic came out, I wasn't even that young, I don't think,
Yeah.
but I was super excited because like when I was a kid, I knew there was a Japanese baseball league, right?
Yeah.
And then I found out like there was a Korean baseball league and there's like all
Yeah.
these other leagues. And when they kept going on and on about the Nippon Baseball League was the second best league in the world, I'm like, oh, I want to see this. So
Yeah.
then when guys like, Hideo Nomo, Matsui, you just go down the line, Matsuzaka, who has the greatest windup I've ever seen in the history of baseball for pitching. He does that little hip thrust thing. When he goes time, he goes dunk, dunk, dunk. And so it was always like, Ichiro by far. Like, I mean, Ichiro has, I think, the most hits in the entire history of baseball. If you count his Japanese, he was almost at 3,000 hits in Japan, and then he got 3,000 hits here in the States.
Yep.
So he has like over 5,000 hits.
Yep.
And I know people aren't here for a baseball podcast, but what I'm saying is, this dude is a class player, right?
Yeah.
Pure class. And this is one of the few watches I've seen that is a collaboration like this, or I saw it and thought to myself, that is done correctly.
Yeah.
It doesn't look chintzy, but enough of my, what do you think?
No, I agree, and I think a lot of people might not know that he actually, they did this last year too. Last year Seiko released a chronograph, and it was a Astro.
Yeah, the Astron.
The Astron. Yeah, that's right. The Astron version of the Otani limited edition. And it was well executed also. I think that it didn't get as much publicity because, Astron is not one of the lines from Seiko. They're extremely popular, at least in the watch world, because they're quartz instead of automatic, but also very well executed. The colors, how they did it, very nice. And then this year they went with the diver, and I think the diver is even better because with the diver you get all the subtleties that cue you into, the team colors, and being Otani's limited edition, like the signature and the clasp and stuff like that. But all of that is hidden away from the main eyesight or the main view, right? So what you're getting is a very well constructed watch, very nice looking watch, nice colors, but instead of being on the nose about it, they just put it all very subtly. Yeah. And it works very well. I think this is a hit for sure, and I think it's gonna it's gonna sell out pretty quick.
I mean, because the guy, people are gonna take it or leave it. Personal opinions aside, like when you get out of the States, like I get it, Puerto Rico is part of the States, but like there are Puerto Rican, heroes for Puerto Ricans. There's Mexican or Chicano, whatever you want to say, Irish, but in Japan it's a big thing. Like this guy is huge in Japan. And so like, these are going to sell in Japan like crazy. Mm-hmm. And then if you're an Angels fan, like, I'm sorry. If you're an Angel fan, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you guys. You guys had the Rally Monkey for a couple years. Congrats on your World Series. But it's been a rough couple years for the Angels. But this is like a low key flex.
Yeah.
You show up to the game, you're able to score one of these, and all your friends are like, and someone, you don't even tell anyone. I'm pretty sure they know it came out, but you don't tell anyone. Someone's like, is that the Otani Seiko? Yeah. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot I was even wearing it. My Otani Seiko. And everyone's like, oh, you know what I mean? Because if he stays there, because if you're into baseball, that he might not be there for long. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's not flashy. He's not flashy.
No. Yeah.
It's not brash. I would say that he's not brash, and it's like, it's very, I wouldn't say the word refined isn't the word, but very just subtle with the right nods. Yeah, well executed with the right nods.
Yeah. To him. I like and this is a typical SPB style diver. So you're getting what everyone loves about Seiko divers is this. It's an SPB, right? This is the one that people love a lot, and all throughout. And then you go into the details. I love the black hands, by the way, how they contrast with the silverish dial and the red seconds hand. It gives you legibility. It looks very good. I like the bezel, just everything, man. It's just well executed.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah,
and it's got all the standard stuff: 70-hour power reserve, 6R35 movement, 200 meters of water resistance. The dial is a 62 Moss inspired dial.
Yeah.
Milled clasp.
Mm-hmm. Which, hey, look, I get people are going to complain. Oh, it's a milled clasp. Look, it is what it is. Take it or leave it. I don't see the issue with the clasp. This is not a $5,000 watch.
Nope.
You're getting a lot for the price that you're paying. It's just,
and I think it's funny because Seiko usually doesn't offer a milled clasp. Seiko usually offers a press clasp, right?
Yeah, press, yeah.
But even then, like people think just because something's milled is great. No, I mean, what did they do to the metal before they milled it?
Yeah.
You have some stamped clasps that have been stamped like a billion times, right? You can stamp something a billion times and then mill it, right? So all of a sudden, like that clasp, just because it's milled, is better. I mean, it might feel a little better, but like it's literally the same metal just milled down. I mean, But anyways, there's only 1,700 pieces, but only $1,200.
Yeah, which is honestly, that's the same price of the SPBs. So you're getting no price increase for a limited edition from a pretty badass baseball player. So
yeah, I think it's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
I dig it. Okay, so now we're on to the big boys.
Pelagos. And this is crazy because this one's we could have talked about last week. I get it, but we knew it was gonna take a long time to talk about Omega releases. So we pushed this one to this week and just have a little fun comparing the two, I guess, a little bit also. But
can I put out some disclaimers first?
Do it.
Okay, so number one, I want everyone to look at this video, courtesy of Tudor, of this AC-75 quote unquote yacht. Right. Yeah. So when the term yacht gets used, this is not a Michael McDonald Doobie Brother 1979 yacht, right? Like there's no champagne on this thing. No one's got outdoor speakers. I doubt anyone's in bikini. This is a racing yacht, right?
Yeah.
This thing, according to the Tudor and Red Bull website, goes in excess of 53 knots, right? For those of you that understand, the conversion is like 1.15 for a knot to mile an hour. So that's 61 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
So anything you do on this boat incorrectly, you have a high probability of dying. And if you don't die, you're going to probably wish you were dead, because when you hit the water at 60 miles an hour, bad day at the office, right?
Yeah.
And that will all eventually relate into my opinions on the material used for the case, because I've heard a little bit of griping about that, but those are just one I want to put out there because me and Alex were talking about those things. And it's a sick boat, right?
Yeah, that's man, it's going fast.
You could have played the Knight Rider theme to that, and it would have totally made
sense. Yeah, it's definitely not the old school yacht racing. This is a lot different. I mean, they're using helmets and body suits with pads and stuff like that in order to protect themselves. So it's obviously not the same. Honestly, everyone knows I'm a fan of bicompass chronographs, and this is a bicompass, so I like it. It has it's a chronograph, bicompass chronograph with a diving bezel, which I like more. It's in reverse, which it goes 50 to 0 instead of the typical way.
Yeah.
And but I like it that I'm if I was able to swap Snowflake hand for a different hand, I would be having a Tudor already. That's just a personal preference, but
dang, man, you hate the snowflake hand that much?
yeah, yeah. But the everything else I like. I'm a fan of Bicompass, and I'm a fan of how Tudor executed on this. I gotta say I kind of like the contrast of the blue dial with the black bezel.
Yeah.
It's a darker blue than the Marine National. I think it goes well with the darker tones all around the watch, especially because the case is a darker tone, right? Because of the material. Tudor has great movements. I enjoy it. I like it. I think it's a nice looking watch, man.
Yeah. I've always secretly loved the Pelagos. Like one of my dream pieces is the LHD, and I'm trying to talk myself into not getting it because I had this Grand Seiko, but they're two totally different divers, right? And and then we might have another LHD coming out here pretty soon that I'm gonna buy I'm gonna purchase instead, which is about 8 times less than the. Hopefully, if you're listening, hopefully it's 8 times less than the Pelagos LHD. But I want to get that one because that one's pretty special. And but I like the overall matness of this. I feel like if I was on a quote unquote yacht going 60 miles an hour, we'll just talk land terms for everybody. So that, you're in the Army. I don't want to bore anybody with knots, but and there's two different kind of knots in the Navy. There's how fast you go, and then the knots you tie stuff up with. But I digress. But anyways, both are fun. Both are fun topics. I think that if you were hauling butt going that fast on a yacht, the overall matness with the high contrast is just super easy to see, and that might be like a serendipitous amount of luck to where the color schemes for Red Bull, Alinghi racing coincide with them being matte and being this easy to see. But I feel like if I was like hauling, I have goggles on and all I can hear is the wind in the ocean. I needed to pump my chronograph, which means I would take my hand off the steering wheel. Anyways, you hit it. I think that I'd be able to see everything really, really easily on this thing.
Yeah.
It's strangely, I'm not a big chronograph guy, and
me neither.
You know what I mean? So I like it. I like what it represents. I mean, it's Tudor, so it's well made.
Yeah.
But I think if you're a racing person and you like chronographs and you love the ocean and you're super down with like, black cases, because I know there's a lot of people that love black cases.
Yeah.
I think it's a home run for them. I think the only thing I noticed about this that was kind of odd was putting the Alinghi Red Bull Racing on the Rehat, because I feel like if you're going to use that internal part for timing, and if you're being really serious about it, like let's be honest about it, most of us aren't really serious about it, but if you were really serious about it, then you kind of are guessing on the time. Other than that,
it's about a quarter, a third of the ring that you can't use for timing anymore because it doesn't have tags. It just has the texting on it. And I think for the diver, it works. It works. It's fine. But for, like you said, for the watch that's made for timing, and if this team is using it, right, this is a watch that it needs to time correctly, and you got a third of the way that you can't use for timing at all. So I don't know how I feel about that either. The thing that I think, the reason why I think this line, not just these models, but the line as a whole, hasn't been as popular as it should be, is probably the fixed logs, honestly, because I feel like a lot of people don't like the fixed logs. I think a lot of people prefer to have the ability to put a bracelet on it, or do different things than just having to run a strap through.
I think that's short-sighted though, bro.
Yeah.
I think because the majority of people don't use these watches in any capacity close to what they're supposed to. Like if I got an FXD, I'm not going to go buy a yacht and then hit you up and be like, yo, you want to go 50 knots today? Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But but go ahead and finish your thought, because I have a thought on the fixed lugs after that. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I want to cut you off.
I think that also a lot of people probably think that they're paying a certain amount of money for these watches, right? You got to take into consideration maintenance. And I think a lot of people feel like, what happens if I break the bar, right? The fixed bar. Now it has to go somewhere. Now, 99.999% of people will never break a fixed bar unless there is a defect. Yeah. And if there's a defect, ultimately you do want it fixed by Tudor.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think that a lot of people, just like with diving capabilities, right? A lot of people think the snorkeling is 500 meters in the water. So they probably feel the same way with fixed lugs. They feel like, any little hit on the door of the room or the office is going to break the fixed lugs. And that's why people probably go against it, as opposed to the typical, black bays and stuff like that, which is, I guess it's personal liking, but ultimately it's a little ridiculous.
So like, the case being carbon composite, which, they're That's never going to give up what the mixture actually is because it's intellectual property, right?
Yeah.
I guess you could break that fixed lug, right?
Yeah.
But
true.
I guess, but I mean, you'd have to not have it on your wrist, right? Because if it's on your wrist, whatever you're hitting that lug with is going to break your wrist long before it breaks that lug. Number one. Number two, you'd have to like put your foot on the watch case, take the strap off, put the case upside down, and then hit it with a 5-pound maul. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you'd have to do something really, really drastic to do that. I would say that it's tensile strength. It's probably strong enough to where if you ever got the strap caught on your wrist, there's a large chance you'd amputate your own hand off before you broke that lug. But so I know that the FXD's titanium, right? It's titanium?
Yeah, titanium, yeah.
That's what I thought. And so I love the LHD. Everyone knows that, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. I have to make an admission that the only thing stopping me from loving the FXD more than the LHD is that I'm not going to jock the French Navy.
Yeah.
Ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
The French Navy didn't win World War II. The French Navy, doesn't have the lineage, and they can argue that they don't have the lineage. We can have debates about that, but I am a product of the United States Navy, and if they ever release just I don't like this term, just a normal FXD, right?
Yeah.
Black colorway, blue colorway.
Yeah.
Gray would be the dream. Gray colorway. I don't know how much sense that makes in the diving world to have a gray colorway FXD. Probably not a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Then my loyalty will switch from the LHD to the FXD. And I think that's part of the reason why I've been holding off on getting the LHD. Because to me, trying to get down to a 3 to 5 watch collection, the thing I've learned as I've moved up a little bit in the watch world is that, like with this Grand Seiko, this bracelet is so good, I don't want to put on a strap.
Yeah.
It's part of the aesthetic, right? Like the bracelet is part of it for me. And if I got an FXD that was, a black colorway or a blue one or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, preferably a black, because I feel like I could do more strap. And I think this is representative of that. The black works well with the blue strap here, right?
Yeah.
So if I got a black FXD, well, then I have my strap monster.
Yeah.
Work out, do everything, try to break it, strap monster. And, I'd have a summer watch. I'd be good to go. Maybe not a chronograph, maybe just the standard dive watch.
Yeah.
Which we can move to now. But I think that's part of that splash water.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why, and it's like, because I think there's real potential in the FXD. And I think these colors are a MacGuffin, like from a movie where they show you something, you're like, oh, that's going to be the plot. And it's not. It's a misdirect.
Yeah.
I think that this is made with intent and purpose, but I think it's a slight misdirect because I cannot believe Tudor. I cannot believe that there's nobody in a room at Tudor saying, we need to make a standard FXD. Like, this is the standard, because they've come out with 2 FXDs that are very, very niche.
Yeah.
Right. Like, honestly, I don't know. Like, maybe someone leave a note in the comments. If you were in a different country's Navy, are you buying the French Navy watch? Are you? Because I'm not. Like if I worked at Carl's Jr. In and Out, I'm not buying like a McDonald's hat and walking around all day. McDonald's. I don't know. But anyways, rant over. Let's get to the diver, the Pelagos FXD.
Yeah, I this one works a lot. You know, I'm obviously a diver guy. I like the divers, and yeah, you know, I think the colorway works. I like it. I think what you were saying, I think is also going to play into a lot of people's thinking about these watches is the whole material of the of the case, because honestly, with the titanium, you know already by now how strong it is, how it you know it goes through it takes punishment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
With this, because they're not telling you, like you said, you know, the composition of the materials, how much of each it has, and all that stuff. Yeah, I can definitely. You're right. I can definitely see how people worries about the strength of the case, the fixed lugs, for something that, you know, for the people that are using it for what is intended to, might be some concern, because you know, if I was, you said it before, the Navy is a debt trap, the Navy ships. So if you have this watch in there, and this case is not as strong as the titanium version because of the composite or the composition of the materials, it might be an issue. You might mess it up, even if it's not breaking the fixed lugs, even if it's just denting, or, you know, we don't know what it does. Does it shatter? Does it crack? What does it do
exactly
when it's hit? So I think
because I look at this and I think to myself, okay, it's carbon composite, right?
Yeah,
but you know, carbon composite alludes to carbon-based life forms, right? So you know what I mean? So like technically, you know, oil and all the derivatives of oil are carbon-based, from carbon-based life forms that decompose, right? So to me is like, now I know this is yacht racing, this isn't the Navy, but if you had a fire, on a ship, and this was your watch, right? Like, what's its heat resistance rating, like, you know, kind of thing. Like, could you wear it in that kind of environment, you know? And this, not everybody thinks that way. I was just wondering about it, but I think it's a good idea for the material, though, because like we discussed earlier, when you're talking about the level of racing that these people are doing, every single ounce on that ship matters, right? It's a boat. It's not long enough to be a ship. Every single ounce on that boat matters. And you're not going to give someone a 207 gram watch. Now, in the grand scheme of things, is that slowing them down? I would argue yes. Like, the level of distance or time, or whatever you want to say, in the positions that they finish. I've seen these races on TV, man. They are going, you know what, out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people laying backwards. There's people moving around on these things going 50 knots, 40 knots, that I wouldn't advise you to move like inside of an RV like that on a freeway. You know what I mean? And so I think that the material design is smart. I think that if you are into yachts, if you're into boating, you know, if you're a quote unquote mariner, totally makes sense. And I think that's the difference between like this composite, quote unquote, and some other the composites that we've discussed that have absolutely no point. There's no point to their composite makeup. This one does have one.
Just think about it. It's swimmers shave the whole body just to be able to have an edge, you know, like it's every little minute detail in this type of environment it makes a difference. So you know, it's crazy, but you know, I can see where people will complain about not knowing the strength of the material, but I think that ultimately this is a good looking watch. I think it works. I think that probably, like you said, having a black dial, you know, basic version of it with no affiliation to a team or something like that will make this skyrocket towards in the mass market. But I'm a fan, man. I'm a fan of these watches. I think they look pretty cool. Pretty cool. Maybe just a darker color on the dial. It would look really good.
Yeah. It'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I for me, I think it's a win. I just think that I would like to stick around and see what I'd really like a standard FXD. Like what's the baseline? Because I find the fixed lugs to be pretty stinking cool.
Yeah.
But for like one watch, I don't want like 14 watches with fixed lugs.
Yeah.
One
for sure. For sure.
Titanium is interesting.
Yeah.
I've had a Shogun for a while. I love that. I have a titanium helm. Both are super comfortable, but big boys.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's a win for me. Now, what do you think if you compare it to Omega releases? What are you thinking?
It's apples and oranges.
Yeah.
It's apples and oranges. I feel like the Omega releases are in their way, a way of honoring and like you said last week, uniting the Seamaster line, which for a while looks like someone just walked into a room, threw a grenade, and walked out.
Yeah.
They were all over the place, but you brought up a great point to where it kind of aligned everything, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess everyone that's a watch enthusiast knows they own a Seamaster, right? But like now there's no denying it. Like if the Ploprof homie walks in and the 300 professional homie walks in, they're like, yeah, I'm like the shooting guard and you're like the center kind of thing, right? Like we're all on the same team.
Yeah.
Because I think that's important. I think that's important because Seamaster Omega's shown, whether you agree or not, the full lineage of capability for this one line.
Yeah.
And they've done it in a way to where the unifying theme, they'll say it's summer, but that's a crock. It's the ocean, right? How they're all kind of united across that. Now, what'll be interesting is to see where they go from here.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. Like every once in a while, do they release like a color scheme across the board? And the thing about like capability, I think that happens. It just doesn't happen as fast as people think. And I don't think people understand engineering as much as they think they do. The lines inside don't change as much because if they really care about the product they're putting out, this is interesting that I'm talking about Amiga saying this. If you look back at our previous discussion we just had in the show, but they need to make sure something's right infrastructurally before they put it out, right? So what's the easiest thing to do? Change colors. Yeah. It doesn't mean that they're not going to introduce new movement 2 years down the road. You know what I mean? Like because they know what's going to happen if they introduce something new, quote unquote, machinery wise, and it doesn't go right, then they're never going to hear the end of it.
Yeah.
Right. The color things come and go. And I believe they know this. Okay. So they're like, let's role play. You and I are Amiga board members. Yo, man, people are saying that the blue is too close to Seiko. What do you think, Alex? Chief Operating Officer. What do you think?
I think they're crazy.
Yeah, you're right. They are crazy. And there might be an article coming out on watchrolling.com this week to discuss the big ocean theory and how the Seiko Omega thing is fake news.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. Because my point is that Omega did something cool to celebrate and unite their line of watches, right?
Yeah.
Which we all kind of knew, but didn't really know that they were lined up because you never really saw anything. But they've done that, taken that moment. They're cool. What Tudor has done is taking a very niche example of a model, right? The FXD, it's a Pelagos, but it's not what we would consider to be normal. Maybe that 39 millimeter one's the normal one now.
Yeah.
But you have literally, you're either in the French Navy or the Red Bull Navy, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You could be in any Navy and wear one of the Omegas.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're an aircraft, maybe if you're an aviation person, right?
Yeah.
An Airedale, you're wearing the World Timer. And then maybe if you're a submariner, you're wearing the Ultra Deep or something.
Yeah.
But they're two different things.
Yeah, I think there's in the watch world there's camps, and those camps are not gonna merge or break, right? So the Tudor fans are all about this, even when they criticize something like the Deep, when they release a different color, dial texture, and then added some text in there, right? So they're gonna they criticize that, and then they come to their watch and they love it with different colorway and a text added.
Yeah.
So and then the same from Omega. The Omega camp is hating on this release because they say it's just some different colorway and some text on the top. When in technicality, right, they did the same. Now, I think that the thing is the real hate, right, is because this team used to be sponsored by Omega. So they used to be sponsored by Omega before, and then the partnership.
We need a breaking news theme, because I would have totally laid it down for you. I didn't know that. It'd have been like,
Which that's why I wanted to bring this up, because I heard not much, but I heard a little bit of people not give the nod to the Tudor watch, knowing that they're Omega fans, and vice versa, right? So the reality, I think the reality, this is my opinion, right? Mm-hmm. This team used to be sponsored by Omega, and then they kind of, you never heard anything, nothing came out for them again, and then now boom, which leads to believe obviously Omega didn't do anything recently with them because they were already dissolving, preparing for this partnership, right? So I think, as for people that are Omega fanboys, they're going to have issues with that, right? If they follow the history and knew that, they're going to have issues with that. They're going to be like, oh, you left us for that trash, and then the Tudor guys are going to be like, yeah, they left you because we're better. And I think that
sounds like NASCAR of the water.
exactly the NASCAR of the water. So it's I think that's where there's a little bit of friction, and I think that's probably leading majority of the opinions towards both releases right now. And
it's the kind of heavy hitting journalism that Government Cheese Time brings you.
Yeah, heavy hitting,
dropping nuggets.
So I think it's objectively, for me, from last week to this week, both releases were great. Apple to oranges, like you said, one is uniting a line and extending the history of it and just honoring that, and then the other one is an affiliation with a team, right? It's not something that is a family, it's not something that is uniting it, and stuff like that. So apple to oranges, I think that Omega did more, even when people say they just changed some colors, they did way more, but it was a different aspect, a different perspective. So can't really compare it.
And the funny thing too is, like, this will be the last rant of what I feel is a rant filled episode. I didn't intend it to be that way, but that's the way it's been. People that complain about design, I think it's funny that there's a lot of people online that act like they've never mailed anything in.
Yeah.
Right. Like, my only gripe with the Moon Swatch is that I feel like lately it's not just mail. It's like I have an eBay store mailing in. Like, I'm sending 50 mail-ins in one shot.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes, like, because I looked at the Omega lineup with their summer ones, and like some of them, like the Aquaterra, but it's like you don't have to design that much on the Aquaterra. The Aquaterra is meant to be, not simple. Simple's a bad term, but like a little more refined, a little more reserved.
Yeah.
It stands out to those that know, but doesn't stand out to anybody that doesn't know.
Exactly.
And so they weren't putting blue light loom on the Aquaterra.
Yeah.
They're putting it on the Ultra Deep.
Yeah.
Because There's going to be one person who goes deeper than they should, which isn't that deep, but
yeah,
and is going to light up their watch and be like, "Look at this," you know what I mean, like kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just think it's I think it's funny because people get so critical of design stuff. It's like, dude, like you've never mailed in something. You probably mailed in 4 things yesterday. You probably mailed in breakfast to your kids. You probably mailed in a memo you were supposed to send. It's like like you knew there were 3 typos, but you're like, whatever. Someone's gonna fix it in editing.
Exactly.
I got to go to lunch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. Yeah. No, for sure.
Oh, that was a fun show, man. That was a really fun show. Do you want to talk about our charity?
Yeah. So, this podcast is sponsored by AWWC, and AWWC is a 501 charity. And, they use we said at the beginning, the drop culture to basically finance some of the projects that they're doing. But, kind of like the t-shirt I have, they had that I wear sometimes. They have hats, shorts, straps, everything, flags like the one behind Jason. But this is the thing that I like about AWWC is with that money, they take nothing as an operating cost, right? The only operating cost they have is producing the things that they're selling in order to make this money, to provide for charity and for people out there. They, helping first responders, veterans, military people, police officers. It's an organization that has no red tape, basically. And to me, that makes a difference because a lot of times there's a lot of organizations out there that have that they want to help or have these programs, but there's a lot of red tape and you might not see help for a long time. With AWWC, you see it's more expedient, it's a lot faster. Yeah, they're going to ask you for the 5 W's for those that are military LEOs and first responders out there, the what, when, who, why, and then boom, it's done, right? They have the Blue Shield program, Blue Angel program. Mm-hmm. They're going to kill me. Yeah. And they're offering basically kind of like a tuition assistance for people to be able to increase their training level and be able to, because that's what we want. We want better trained police officers, better trained first responder, better trained military people. Sometimes your unit, your department doesn't have the money to be able to send you to these things, but they know you need it. Yeah. And, it's a great program for them to advance in training and be able to do their job safer. Right. And that's what's important for both sides. So at the end of the day, I think it's a great organization. That's why we partner with them for the podcast, for the live stream. And I think it's check it out, support them. They put out great products, and I rave about their strap all the time. So for the watch world,
decon too. Like it's wonderful.
Yeah. And they're going to release their happy sock, right? And their watch rolls. So they're going to be patterned in military, kind of like God's played, desert and jungle. So it's great because the happy sock is for collecting all your straps and stuff like that that you have in a drawer, thrown all around. That way your wife won't kill you. And at the same time, check out the watch rolls because it's something that everyone needs in the watch roll, and they're coming out pretty soon. So keep an eye out and go show some love and support them.
Yeah, definitely. AWWC doing great things. I love my Decon 2 strap.
Oh man, amazing.
Yeah,
honestly.
But so great show, Alex.
For sure, man. Great show. And for everyone out there, the next episode is not going to release on Saturday. It's going to release before that. So keep an eye out. It's going to be a super interesting episode. It's going to be a little bit different. So keep an eye out because it's going to be soon. And it's going
to release July 10th at 09:02 Eastern Standard Time.
Weird time, but there's a reason for it. So you don't want to miss it. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, don't ask questions. Just go watch it. July 10th, 09:02 on YouTube.
09:02
Eastern Standard Time.
Exactly. So, yeah, great episode, man.
You too.
To sit down with you, and hopefully everyone enjoys.
Always a great time, bro. Always a great time. Same to you. And thanks to everyone that's tuned in or is going to tune in. And if you get a chance, go watch our Moon Swatch episode. Oh, sorry, not our Space Force episode.
Space Force episode.
It's on the YouTube channel. Check it out.
Definitely, for sure. Check it out.
Too much space going on later.
Too much space.
Have a nice night, everybody.
All right. Have a nice weekend.